The date was July 15th, 3018. I had just turned 18 a few Earth weeks earlier and was now approaching the marshes of Marn on the planet Gallia. I was undoubtedly the youngest galactic defender among the battle-hardened soldiers around me. "How many orbits old are you anyway, kid?" asked Sergeant Brooks, the tall, muscular Galaxian marching beside me in powered battle armor. 18 Earth years, sir," I replied shyly through my communicator. Brooks let out a hearty laugh. 18 Earth years? You look like you're still a proto. This here's no place for hatchlings. The galactic defenders like myself were outfitted with advanced powered battle armor called Guardian suits. These high-tech suits enclosed our entire bodies in a futuristic exoskeleton frame made from ultra-strong alloys. The sleek Guardian suit amplified our strength and speed while providing protection from enemy weapons fire. The exterior plating could resist blaster shots and pulse cannon bombardments that would liquefy an unarmored soldier. My youthful body moved with lightning quickness in the agile suit. Targeting systems linked to my helmet display let me pinpoint and engage enemies rapidly. The suit even injected stims into my bloodstream to banish fatigue and keep me going strong through extended battle. Built-in jetpacks on the Guardian suits allowed us to leap dozens of meters into the air. They were crucial for avoiding ambushes and crossing the cratered dead zones separating our lines from the Zorlaxians. I felt like a superhero blasting through the skies in my suit. The high-density power cells kept all systems running at peak capacity despite the prolonged combat operations. I didn't have to worry about my suit failing at a critical moment. The Galactic Defenders spared no expense equipping us with the very best gear to hold the line. The hardened helm and airtight seals protected me from the toxic atmosphere tainted by smoke, gas, and chemicals. External oxygen intakes and climate control systems meant I could fight for hours without tiring. Nothing would breach this technological armor cocooning my vulnerable body inside. Wearing this Guardian suit, I no longer felt like a helpless rookie new to war. I was part of an elite futuristic force defending justice across the galaxy. Our suits alone gave us a crucial edge against the numerically superior Zorlaxian hordes. We might be outnumbered, but our superior technology and training meant we could still prevail. This was the cutting edge of warfare, light years beyond the primitive combat I had pictured. We flew along a dusty canyon road, the red sun of Gallia beating down on us. Up ahead, I could see the lush green Gallian metropolis give way to devastation. The once quaint farming villages were reduced to crumbling ruins. Great craters pockmarked the planet's surface from endless orbital bombardments. Splintered native tree trunks reached up like skeletal hands. The air smelled of smoke, ozone, and death. In the distance, the marshes of Marn snaked through the landscape. But the waters were not the lovely lavender I'd seen on orbital maps back on Earth. The marshes were choked with mud and debris, swollen far beyond their banks. The Zorlaxians had pushed dangerously close to the capital of Nova Gallia, but we galactic defenders were ordered to stop them here along the Marn. I had never seen battle before. I was just a fresh-faced teenager who had enlisted on a whim back on Earth. The other soldiers had been fighting the Zorlaxians for years. As a species, the Zorlaxians valued strength above all else. They believed it was their right to subjugate and exploit weaker civilizations as they saw fit. Their doctrine was based on social Darwinism, survival of the fittest on a galactic scale. The Zorlaxian Emperor and his warlords aimed to build an empire that stretched across the whole Milky Way galaxy. They sought to enslave countless worlds to fuel their massive war machine and extract resources. No cost in lives was too high to fulfill their grand vision of total Zorlaxian rule. Being warlike by nature, the Zorlaxians glorified their soldiers as the highest embodiment of their cold-blooded ideals. Their citizens willingly sacrificed themselves by the billions in the Emperor's constant campaigns of conquest. They saw war and expansion as noble goals rather than the genocide they truly were. The Zorlaxians despised democratic ideals of freedom and equality. They sought to impose a singular culture and totalitarian order on all life forms. Those who resisted were crushed without mercy. Billions had already perished under their boot. As they consumed more worlds, the Zorlaxian war machine only grew mightier, driven by imperialist aggression. They justified their atrocities as necessary to assert Zorlaxian supremacy. Their oppressive interstellar empire enslaved over 1,000 inhabited planets at its height. It was this nightmarish vision of limitless tyranny and suffering that the Galactic Defenders vowed to oppose at all costs. Our light-years spanning alliance of free worlds was the only force strong enough to halt the Zorlaxian menace creeping across the galaxy. We alone stood between them and total domination of all sentient life. The Zorlaxians would only be content when the entire Milky Way bowed helpless and obedient before their emperor. As Galactic Defenders, it was our solemn duty to defend freedom, whatever the sacrifice. Our galactic civilization's very future hung in the balance. We dug new trenches near the foul marsh's edge. The dusty ground was muddy and foul-smelling. Rotting sandbags and abandoned plasma rifles littered the area. This land had been fought and refought over savagely. Now, it was our turn. The red Gallian sun rose on the morning of July 18th, and the Zorlaxian pulse cannons began their thunderous barrage. We were meant to charge across the dead zone when it lightened. I said a prayer to the galactic spirit that I might survive. I didn't feel courageous at all. I was just a boy playing at war. But now the real war was about to begin for me. Brooks placed a dirt-caked hand on my shoulder, the hydraulic joints of his battle-worn guardian suit whirring as he moved. "Stick with me out there, kid. I'll look out for you." I nodded, hoping he was right. Together we climbed out of the trench on booster-assisted legs, landing with heavy metallic thuds on the pitted ground beyond. Immediately, we were immersed in chaos. The deafening screech of incoming artillery filled the air as explosions erupted all around us. Plumes of superheated soil and molten shrapnel blasted skyward, raining back down on the battlefield. My enhanced auditory sensors muted the din to a tolerable level. Brooks's railgun bucked in his grip as he picked off an enemy sniper bunkered down behind the rusting hulk of a destroyed hover tank. The hypervelocity slug blew the Zorlaxian's head apart in a burst of neon blood. "Keep moving! We're too exposed out here!" he barked. I broke into a headlong run, plasma bolts sizzling past my helmet from unseen assailants. My HUD highlighted potential targets, and I strafed the Zorlaxian-held trenches ahead with pulse fire to pin them down. Screams echoed from within as my shots found their marks. A crimson blip on my scanner marked an incoming projectile an instant before a Zorlaxian rocket screamed past overhead, missing me by meters. I snapped off a shot from my wrist laser, igniting the rocket's fuel to blow it harmlessly sky-high. The Zorlaxian heavy weapon team that fired it met a similar fiery fate moments later, reduced to ashes under my barrage. To my right, a fellow Guardian cried out as an armor-piercing round pierced his thigh, severing his leg beneath the knee in a spray of blood and polymers. Without breaking stride, I hoisted him over my shoulder, his suit automatically injecting trauma drugs to keep him alive. He would survive. Ahead, Brooks bulldozed into a cluster of Zorlaxians in savage, hand-to-hand combat, crushing skulls and shattering limbs with pile-driving blows. Their Planet Conqueror armor was no match for the raw power of Brooks's Guardian suit. He single-handedly devastated an entire enemy platoon before rejoining me. "We're close to punching through," he shouted with savage enthusiasm. The Zorlaxians were faltering, and Brooks could taste their defeat. We were near achieving a breakthrough, but the hardest fighting still lay ahead. Man, what an intense scene that was. You really get thrown into the heat of battle alongside this kid soldier. At just 18 years old, he's practically still a teen but already in over his head on the front lines. War is no place for a kid, that's for sure. I have to hand it to Brooks, though, looking out for the rookie like that. In a world of annihilation, beams and suicide missions, a little humanity goes a long way. Props to him for having the kids back. He wouldn't have lasted 2 minutes out there alone. It's crazy to think what kind of tech they've got too. Jetpacks, auto-injectors, shielding from toxic atmospheres. They've basically got superpowers. Makes you wonder what future weapons will be like if we keep going down this road. Still, for all that hardware, they're just flesh and blood underneath. No armor is proof against a hit to the wrong spot. Makes you realize war is brutal no matter the era. Young or old, advanced gear or primitive. You're still putting your life on the line every second. Hard not to feel for the kid thrust into all that against his will. Makes me think twice about glorifying combat like it's some video game. The reality is a whole other animal. At the end of the day, both sides think they're in the right. But out there in the hot zone, all that really matters is making it to sunrise. Ideology don't mean jack if you catch a missile with your name on it. War is hell, that's for sure. Glad I'm not the one wading through the trenches. Kudos to all those doing the dirty work to keep the rest of us safe.